Yeah. So it's lit up. Oh wait. Oh, maybe it wasn't on. Hold on. I'm gonna try this microphone again. Hold on. Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I must not. I didn't ever notice there was a power button under it. Oh, I'm like, why is that button yellow?
Hi, Jessica.
Red. Ugh.
Yeah, see what you got for your podcasts.
Yeah, that's why I got it. I was like, ooh, I need a cool speaker.
Yeah.
But yeah. Hi.
Hi.
I mean, Lisa, if your sister doesn't show up, I don't know what we're gonna do.
She's at my sister's house, so she's not gonna show up.
And
Can't
every
make
time
it without Laura.
right, every time I talk about you, I talk with your accent. It's hysterical. I was telling my husband about you, and I was like, "You'd love them." Like, and I was like, and then the accent starts coming out, and I'm like, "See what an impression they had on me." Hey, Liz.
Hey, Liz. Hey, everybody.
Thanks,
Lynn.
So Andrea texted me and said she's going to try to get on, but she's going to the Mayo Clinic for treatment.
Oh,
She didn't say for what. So, and I didn't want to pry.
yeah.
But she said she was going to try to make it. And I said, if you can't and you want to, me to just try to get a couple people together at a time that's good for her and we could meet, we could do that too. So,
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm so excited. Everybody made it. Yay.
Yay.
And Jessica's sitting up straight. She's not shaking. Nothing crazy going on.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Aw.
So how's everybody feeling?
Great.
Good? Great? Yeah, Ricky's all pumped.
Well, I still have a lot of issues, but I've been reading the books and studying my manual and all, and I've done one session. Everybody that walks by, I try to get them, but everybody's so busy. So
You'll be a good candidate for street hypnosis. Get everybody that walks by.
right, but I'm still dealing with a lot of fear issues. So, which I've had 4 sessions, QHHT. I'm like hard to get away in. So, Elizabeth gave me a session, and it was good. But I don't feel like I had a little bit of an emotional release, but I'm looking deep, and I know what's there. I'm like where Jessica was, I need that. I need just to pour it out,
Yeah.
I second everything you just said, Ricky.
Right?
Thank you. You're speaking my language, my words.
I
back.
had a really weird experience last night. I was going to sleep and I was doing like my chakras and stuff like that. And I don't know, I was thinking about this stuff because I spent, most of last night trying to write scripts and stuff. Down under. Oh wait, maybe she's not down under. Are you down under or are you still up?
I'm down under, but I'm down under.
Hey, down under.
Hi. Hello, all of you.
Well, what time is it there?
8 a.m.
Wow. Okay, well, there you go. She's got her coffee. I'm getting ready to go to bed.
Maylee is still muted.
Oh, yeah. Mayhe, you're still muted. There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Lisa's muted too. Looks like Lisa.
Oh yeah, Lisa.
You're muted.
Now we got it.
There you go.
You're muted.
You're good.
Okay.
But yeah, so anyway, last night, real quick, I was going to bed and all of a sudden I was like, because Liz had done a session on me, you know, when we were still in Maryland. And all of a sudden it dawned on me that we didn't hit what the real problem was. So it was like, what happened to me wasn't what has been affecting me. The assault wasn't, or whatever, you know, wasn't affecting me. It was actually, I went back to the memory of when I got home and the fact that I did not want to go into the house to see my kids because I was so ashamed. And I was so like, how did I put myself in that position? What kind of a mother am I to put myself at risk like that? You know, and that was what has actually been the root of what's been bothering me from that situation. So I was just really wigged out because all of a sudden that just came in from like nowhere. And I think I definitely was in a trance at that point. So I was just like, hey, I'm going to go with it. And I'm just going to work the magic that we would do if I was a client and take myself through it, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So I did. And I woke up this morning, like feeling like a weight had been lifted. So
Well,
it's
with each
definitely,
layer, you get lighter and lighter.
yeah.
So it's an ascension. And so we have to pull all these layers off. Some of them are, you know, so far back in our lineage, you know, I mean, my mother's mother's mother, you know, so it's such a layer that we're pulling off. So it's going to happen just a little bit. Like I can breathe more, I can breathe better after I have a session for a couple of days. But then those mind monsters come back and, you know, and then I feel it closing in. And so it's not as many and it's not as bad. But it's there. And I want it wrong.
Right.
Where'd Nikki go? Nikki, hi Nikki.
Hi.
Here, I'm just changing.
Oh, okay.
It's all right. We'll let you keep the camera off. That's what you want to do. So anybody else got any crazy stories from since we last met?
I want
I
to go
did
back.
do it. What's that, Liz?
I want to go back.
I know.
So
Anybody
last
else?
week was, I think it was hard for everyone. It was really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still like, I think I'm still adjusting. So yeah, I would definitely go back.
I finally had a good self-care day today. So I did, so like, I think, so I have a sauna at home and like one of those inflatable hot tubs in my garage. And so, yeah, I did my whole breath, 45 minutes of breathing with my transformational breath work. Went in the sauna, first went in the hot tub and then went in the sauna and then got my shower. So like rejuvenated my body and did all that grounding work. So yeah, I definitely need that. I feel like I need that at least twice a month. Otherwise I'm discombobulated. For sure.
You know, I don't see why we couldn't do a group sessions either, you know? I mean, I was starting to do that whenever I was still doing QHHT. I was starting to do group sessions. I went to a couple of them. And, you know, I mean, that would kind of be cool to look into, you know?
The group sessions for QHHT are just past life regressions. I've done.
Well, yeah, but it's, you know, it's individual. So, you know, we can, I don't know. That's what I'm not sure.
I just think it would be kind of hard to do the healing
That's true.
because you need to interact with each person's experience.
Right.
That's true.
But it's a good way. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth.
It's a good way to get
People now. How many
Yeah.
people in now?
Well,
in our meeting here.
Yeah, how
Well,
many?
Both of us.
12.
You can put it in the gallery view.
Yeah.
No, I just saw 5.
Yep.
1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5.
So if you go up to if you touch your screen and then there's a little box with a bunch of dots on it.
Oh, here, okay,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I see, other, yeah.
Oh, by the way,
Yes, no? Okay.
I didn't raise my hand. This happens to me whenever I do BQH sessions online. All of a sudden, I'll get hands raised or claps or things like that for no reason. I'm not even near my keyboard.
Somebody
I
wants
don't know
to be heard.
why it happens, but somebody's listening. Somebody's here trying to get my attention.
I don't know if it's redundant and you guys already covered this, but I felt like I got hit by an emotional truck while I was there. And then I was on the road for the week after, and it was it's funny and hard. Like I kept reading the books and looking over everything, but I was like I actually felt like I really went backwards. And then this week, it's been amazing. Like I knocked over some tasks that were really challenging, and I've been procrastinating on them because they were very emotional. It's initiating a lawsuit with the girl that hit me skiing, and I made so much progress. And then I know I just said that lighter. I just feel like better. I don't know how to describe it, but I really think it's like, and I know he said that it's kind of like a wound. You cut it, and then and then it's the healing. But I feel that there was like the Nikki before I was there. The Nikki when I was there was really hard. Like it was much harder than I was anticipating. Nothing like the Brian Weiss course I had done. And I also was trained, I didn't mention it to you guys, but at Radical Aliveness for a couple of years, which is all somatic healing. And but so I feel like the work we did there, and it wasn't just my session. I felt that because there's so much empathy in the group and there's so much energy going on, I was really affected by everyone else's sessions and kind of the classes and what we were watching. Like I just felt like everything has been working, chiseling away, and I don't know, it's just given me so much more faith even in this work. I just wanted to share it because this week has been like really. I feel like I'm exhaling and kind of much more on the other side of it.
Thank you for sharing, Nikki.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's great.
Here's my doggy. I don't know if you can see.
Oh boy.
My little daughter, she turns 13 next week.
Oh, girl. Yeah, she's
So cute,
yeah, she is
very
cute.
quiet.
Love the animals.
And her name's
Well, I mean-
Matilda, which
Matilda?
Rebecca will love. Her name's Matilda, so she's red like a kangaroo.
How was she at waltzing?
Right. Oh, that's funny. Yep. Well, Liz and I were talking about it too, and we definitely want to do episodes for the podcast where we have like you guys on, and whether you want to like share sessions with us, you want to go under and volunteer to, be somebody that goes under, or you just want to share what you've done in your practice and how it's affected you, whatever. We just figured it'd be a good idea to, have all of you on and kind of bring the community. And then the other thing too is, it's kind of like free advertising, so we'll just get everybody, have everybody's information when we do the session and, in the information and all, so people can find you, and things like that. But yeah, so we'll definitely be reaching out for that kind of stuff.
I didn't know about your guys' podcast. Will you just fill me in a little bit? Is it already up and
Yeah, so
you're starting?
yeah, well, we're actually, so I just took a day off next Thursday. So we've been like working on, what software and stuff do we need? What software and stuff we need. And then, so I finally figured that stuff out. So I've got to sign up our accounts. I've already drafted, Liz has been coming up with some great ideas for episodes. And then I've kind of just been drafting like bullet points of things we could talk about during them and everything like that. So we're going to get together next Thursday and try to knock out at least the first couple episodes.
I'll volunteer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think it would be great to have you guys on. And I already asked Antonio if he would come on, and he said he'd come on too.
Oh,
I figure before we start embarrassing other people, maybe we should embarrass ourselves first and get the first couple episodes out of the way. Because, I'm going to have to work on calming down the cursing and, things like that. So probably some kinks to work out. But yeah, definitely, because we're going to get the program where we can have guests on remotely and stuff like that. So, and we can have multiple people too, I think. So, yeah, I think it'd be really cool.
Oh, Mabel popped on. Hey, Mabel.
Hey, Mabel.
I'm great. I was at the grocery store.
That was almost me. Yeah, I got right in the door in like 10 minutes to spare. So,
Right? I just unfortunately walked down the stairs, so that's not really fair.
I've been waiting all day.
Yeah, there you
Me
go.
too.
I've been so excited to see you guys.
I know.
I felt that I was so enabled that I really couldn't enjoy the whole retreat and the gatherings and everything, because I would have been like a butterfly flying around trying to get with everybody.
Right.
But you guys were so nice and accommodating for me. I really appreciate it.
Me too.
No worries.
I just got home too, and I just did a session.
Oh, awesome.
Oh,
share, how do you feel about it, Elizabeth?
It was and it's definitely different than what I'm used to doing. I think that I don't know what the context was, but when I first got on, my computer was like stuck. So when I got on, I'd been waiting and waiting to get on. I heard, when I first got on, I heard you guys, somebody said something like that QHHT is just past life regression or whatever. And I would just like to say that it is not.
no, that Elizabeth,
That's
that
progression.
was the group regression script.
Yeah, like a group regression.
Group past life
Oh,
regression
okay.
versus
Okay.
script. Yeah.
But anyway, so I did a session today, and it feels very different to me. She did not go into any past lives, this person, but it was exactly what she needed. Like, she got a lot out of it, and she really needed to examine some sad moments in her life. We did a lot of role play. Like, I did that with every single thing that we went to. But she later told me that helped her so much, and I thought, okay, that's why we did that so much. She's that person was not a real emotional person. I sense that it's gonna be opening up stuff for her. She's gonna have more of that happening in her life. But right now, like, she didn't get really emotional during the session or anything. But I sense that she, in the way that she did, and it's quite fascinating. But, and she went to a few memories that don't seem like that traumatic or anything, but it was hard for her that she did that, or that thing happened or whatever. And, I think it's going to really benefit her. So that's the thing, is that I needed to keep doing some sessions so that I can enroll me in the process a little more. Understanding how, because see, I think that it's easy for Alba and Antonio to pick people that they know are going to go deep, and not work with the people that might be hard, and the fact is that some people are harder to bring under, and all that. So I feel like maybe they have limited time, they have to focus on that, but not everybody's going to go under really, and open to it in the way everybody did during our training. And so we got to keep that in mind and not compare it to that, I think. So
that's why Liz got so, that's why Liz got so pushy when she was like trying to get them to do the breathing with me, because she and I had been talking about it, and I said, I feel like they're picking people that are easy, and I came here to learn how to put somebody under that's hard. And so like when that's why Liz was kind of so pushy with that. It was like, no, like, we know I'm hard. So, let's do it. Let's see if it can be done. So yeah, but I mean, I think I did realize too, like that certainly showed me that it was easier, but it was when, I think it was you, Joanna, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You that
When we
put me on?
paired up?
Yeah, yeah,
pretty
and
good.
I was like, oh wow, I really did kind of feel it, and like it was starting to flow. And so both of those experiences really kind of showed me that, you're definitely present. Like at least I am. And so I can explain that to my clients to be like, you're going to think you're not under, but I'm telling you, it's working. Don't let the fact what's going on and you could open your eyes at any minute. Don't let that mess with you. Just go with it and do it.
And
So,
that induction that we did, the Dave Ellman induction, even though I've had the QHHT induction used, and that's helped people go under deeply. But anytime I've had a session, which has been like 4 or 5 different sessions from other people doing it to me, I still felt very aware and my conscious mind, because I know the script, I know what's supposed to happen, all that kind of stuff.
that's my hang up too. Yeah.
And that one helped, that Dave Ellman script helped me go under more deeply than I've ever been.
Well, I was even leading my therapist. I was leading her. I said, I want to go here. And,
okay.
And I was just like, I felt like I wasn't under it, very much, but things were happening, but not like I wanted them to happen. And I would say, I want to go here, I want to go there, or adjust this, And I was like, or I would hear her say, with the script of the QHHD, I would hear her say all that stuff. And it's like, oh, you're just supposed to say this, and I mean, it was just like, shut up.
So, Jessica did a session on me last week, and it was one of those sessions where things didn't really make sense, right? So I was telling her what I was seeing. There was feelings there. So what it helped me realize later was that, like, if the story's not moving along, like sometimes the story's moving along, it makes total sense, is digging into the feeling. So if you're not because I wasn't really sure what happened next. I was a kid, and then I was this old woman, and I couldn't really understand the story in between. I just know my dad kind of disowned me. But you could always dig into the feeling too. You know what I mean by dig into the feeling? How does that feel? And then kind of let that feeling get bigger and take over, because the feeling has energy and information.
And that whole piece where you're saying, it was the most difficult moment. What was and when that such and such, whatever they say, the most difficult moment, how does it make you feel physically? That digs deeper too, even if it's not in the script for that particular, it seems to be called on in one technique more than others, but it seems like there's no reason you couldn't use it when you have trouble getting at the emotion.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, I was having trouble, again, kind of squaring this with the QHHT, kind of getting that out of my head. And all of a sudden last night, I was laughing again as I was trying to go to sleep, because all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I never put anything in the cheat sheet or whatever about the scan, the body scan. And I'm like, what? I totally just missed that. So I'm like, oh, I got to add something about that. And then it kind of dawned on me. I was like, you know what? I'm like, because to me, it didn't quite fit. And then I'm like, you know what it is? It's that QHHT, they ask the subconscious all the questions. So oh, why did you send them there? Well, how did they feel when they were there? Whatever. And then can you do a body scan? And all this process is it's the person you're asking. You're not waiting for the subconscious to come in. You're just automatically, asking that person those important questions and asking the person to scan their body and everything like that. So once I kind of got that, it started to click for me. But I think it's just, it's just different. It just takes some use getting used to. And I guess, again, too, I mean, I get a lot of clients that are emotional, but not any that I've taken through a rape or anything, you know what I mean? So that's certainly going to be different and kind of I need to skew my entire website. I need to redo it to kind of get away from more of that fantasy past life stuff and more into the fact that, we're here to deal with trauma. But hi, Betty.
Hi, Betty.
Hi.
We're just sharing experiences that we've had in the past week. How long has it been? A week, yeah.
So this lady today that I was with, she had an abortion when she was, 19 or something like that. And, it was one of those things that happened so quickly. Before she knew it, she was getting an abortion. And she just kind of skipped the emotional grieving or anything about it. And so she went there on her own, as one of her first memories today. And, we just did a really great exploration. I gave her, I asked for the unborn child to talk to her and everything. Like, we just really explored it, and it was really good, and it was really healing for her. And I think she's going to be perceiving it very, very differently. But those kind of things, all the things that she explored, all interrelated with the wounds in the bloodline of her family, really, honestly. And I don't know that that's necessarily always the case with people, but in her case, she went to several different members of her family, and we processed stuff, and you could see all the different ways the bloodline was affected. And, really that how she's the common denominator, that is, instead of looking at herself as a victim, as we talked about in the training, she's beginning to see herself as the person in the family that can help heal the bloodline. And and that starts with, every little thing. And there were a few things that she went to that seemed insignificant, but it was very significant. So it doesn't have to be super dramatic, is what I got today. It doesn't have to be super dramatic to be really beneficial for people to explore. I think she was really grateful. She's going to get more out of re-listening to it as well. And a little synchronicity is that one of the things that she processed was her brother, who doesn't live here, and he's coming in town tomorrow. And so when we were talking about the session before she left, she's like, wow, that's a real synchronicity that he's coming tomorrow now. I'm realizing that, and that we're doing this session today. So I would love to hear from her later how her interactions with her brother are going to be really different, I bet, this week when she's with him. So I don't know why I felt like telling you all of that.
Yeah, wasn't it Linda?
Yeah.
Didn't Rosalinda say that too, the same thing, kind of like her relationship with her mom, or she had a conversation with her mom, and like it seemed like things had shifted and she didn't even really
Yes.
say anything or whatever. It just kind of seemed like things shifted on their own.
Yeah. Another thing that she and I talked about, after when we were kind of processing the session, is because I think it's difficult for her because she is awakening right now, and she wants to wake up the rest of her family, who are like, you're being kind of like a hippie and stuff like that with her. They're kind of dismissive with her and all that. And I just try to help her to understand to, not go in that victim role about that. Just talk about things. If you're going to talk about awakening and healing and stuff, talk about it in terms that they can relate to. And, and she left feeling really more confident about interacting with her family in new ways. And so that's exciting, we're helping people with, healing their family some and all that. So
Yes.
I don't really know what this meeting's supposed to be about, so I just felt like talking about that. So y'all go.
Yeah, right, Jessica? I'm like watching Jessica's face, and she looks like she's going through something, and I can't tell.
Yeah,
No, I think I'm just like, I don't think I'm triggered or anything, but I was,
Yeah.
and I had a session with Liz. I did a session with Liz. She did a session for me, which was amazing. And I haven't looked at any of the notes or anything because I don't want to be triggered. I haven't watched any videos. I haven't opened any books because I'm like, let me just ease into it. And so I did a session with Beta and I felt great after it. And then today I did one with my friend and I feel okay. But it's like, how am I gonna do this if this keeps happening? And then I have a someone contact me for a reading, but she contacted me with like something else, a question, and she's like, I don't know if you can do this, and it will be perfect for what we're doing. And I've been seeing things, and I don't know if it's for me or if it's for her. And I think it's for her, and it's kind of like disturbing. So I don't know. I just feel a little bit like, should I be doing this? Like,
Right. Have you ever gone to anybody to show you like how to protect yourself and kind of block yourself from the energy?
No,
Because I feel like
do a
that's
lot
what
of
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you got to set boundaries. You have to set like, like Alba had said, she told the Indians they're not allowed in the house.
Yeah.
Like, Yeah, and I mean, I took a mediumship classes for like 9 months, and she said that too. Like, she was like, you have to set boundaries. You have to be like, you don't bother me when I'm sleeping. You don't come in my bedroom, whatever. And she goes, I also, like, she's like, I'm not like, the Manhattan Madam or whatever she is. She's like,
Yeah.
I don't just walk into stores and talk. She goes, I block myself. Like, I set the intention that I'm not going to pick up any energies. Kind of
that.
thing. Yeah.
I do that. I was reading in my room. I moved it to my living room. I moved my altar out. I don't allow any spirits in my house. Only like my guides, my angels, my mom. Like those spirits can come. They know that. And then when I go out places before I go, I imagine like a shield and everything. And then it's like I started seeing that random place. And that was what was happening was I kept seeing what happened. Like before I was hung in class, I was seeing it. I saw it at night. I kept seeing flashes of it during the day, and then it happened. And then the same thing happened with Liz. And now I keep seeing flashes of, I think it's going to be for this girl.
So Jessica, how do you feel compared to, now just generally in your energy before you started the class and now, after you've had several different sessions through the class and beyond?
I feel good. I feel a lot better because now that I think about it, I was pretty much triggered for 5 months straight because I was watching one of Alba's videos and I just freaked out and I didn't know what to do. And I didn't even think, oh, I want to do this for a living. Let me look into the class. I just did it. I just signed up. It was like, and then it just kept happening. And so now I feel good. I feel better.
How much percent better do you think?
Well, it depends on
The day?
like right after that session with Liz, I felt 1,000% better. I was like, I love this. I'm going to do this for my job. This is beautiful. And then after today, I probably feel like 75% better.
Mhm.
Right.
So it seems like there's probably more there that needs to be cleared.
Yeah.
Maybe as you clear it.
I think it's just also just getting used to just having the ability to tap in from conversations and events and places, just being able to harness that energy. That's what to me it more sounds like, because you watch stuff, you overhear stuff, and you get messages or you get triggered. Just being able to get used to harnessing that energy and maybe controlling it, because you said you probably get messages for a client. Imagine how many more clients you're gonna have. It just, just kind of being able to get to a place where you're comfortable, able to control that energy, because that was a lot.
It's like maybe talk
That
to
is a lot.
those spirit guides of maybe your client that you feel like that is coming on to you. Say, hey, this isn't your block yet. This isn't your session yet. You'll have your time, but
Yeah.
now's the time.
What's the benefit of this? I
We'll
keep
figure out what
like
they
the
want
most
and write
violent
it down.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I see the most violent part. How is that benefiting me? How is that going to benefit them? That doesn't benefit them at all.
Right.
Or me.
Maybe just make a note of it. Maybe you have like an
Or
card
ask
for your
about
client.
it.
To say, hey, I'm noting it, and you'll have your turn. This is your session time. We'll talk then, right?
You just reminded me of something. One day I wrote a note for somebody too, that I forgot to ask them. I had this coworker, I just started a new job, and every time I would talk to her, I know her name, and I've said her name plenty of times, but when I would be talking to her, a different name will come up, and I'm like, I wonder if she knows if this has something to do with her, and I should ask her. But after I left the retreat, I forgot about it. So I'm going to ask her the next time I see her. Like, I get those types of messages from people, like, ask them about the name Nicole, or just weird things like that.
Yeah.
And maybe you could just start writing the things down as they come up for your client. Okay, violence, a beating or a rape. Or you just ask them.
But you said, how does that benefit you, or why is it for you? It's
Because you
she
never
has
know.
to go
Well,
through
what
that
if you get a
trauma.
client who is uncomfortable bringing up the stuff that they actually need to work on? I have a sister who goes to therapy, and she skips over all of the hard, important stuff that's affecting her and talk about everything else. So maybe it's like, this is the root of something, and you're not comfortable bringing it up, but this is the root of what you're going through. And maybe that's why she's getting the message.
And maybe too, Jessica, if it shocks you while you're not in the session with a client, it's giving you kind of a preview so you won't be shocked in the middle of a session.
Maybe, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
So that you have a chance to.
This is something you can't say this to someone.
No.
It's something, this is pretty, this is really dark.
But if you have it in your mind, if you know that that this is the message you're getting, it's not that you need to say that this is the way it is or anything like that, but you might have it in the back of your mind so that if something comes up, you can jump on it. You won't miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't think it's a warning, do you?
I don't know. I don't want to tell you what it is and it triggers somebody, but if you want to know, I'll tell you.
I won't be
Well, I'm
triggered.
just wondering could it be your guides
I don't think
trying
so.
to scare you? Now,
I saw. Is everyone okay if I say it?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, go ahead.
I saw someone putting a pin in a person's eye, and I saw someone doing it, and then it's like, is it a bird's eye or is it a person's eye? And then she messages me, and she said when she was little, she was taken to a church in Mexico, and they left her there. They thought she was possessed or something, and this woman did things to her or did things. And so I think it was a bird's eye, and then it's just like, it feels like there's like a voodoo doll or something. Maybe not a
It was
voodoo doll,
probably
but there's
exorcism.
something controlling something. And is this a spirit controlling something? Is this a spirit from another life that was attached to this woman in the church who was doing this? Or is it, you know what I mean? It feels very like, I can't be sure.
It's
But
symbolical.
something really bad. It's something really dark, and it has to do with putting a pin in, I think, a bird's eye.
But the specifics of it really in the session really have more to do with what is this person's emotions? What does she need to have happen so that if it's a memory or something like that, what do they need to have happen so that it's not that bad memory anymore? What couldn't they say or do? What was their perception of it when they were going through it, and how can they look at it differently now?
Yeah.
And then
Maybe
also,
it's
I
an
would say,
attachment or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but Jessica, did you see this during the session or after?
No, the session hasn't happened yet. I started
Oh,
seeing
okay.
this 2 days ago, and she messaged me yesterday with this. And I literally, like, I had chills everywhere. I was like, this is what I'm seeing. Because I saw it and I was like, oh, great. Somebody, tortured me somehow. Like, geez, when is this going to stop? And then I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel like mine. It's not that
Yeah.
strong, but it's so disturbing.
Okay, so I think you are very sensitive. And when you connect with the person, you connect with the energy around her, and you connect it to this what happened, or the issues that she has. Like you initiate all of the sudden the information, you gathering the information from her space. So if because this is, and as I see this, as I feel this is a gift that you asked for, but you don't recognize at this moment as a gift because you don't know how to manage this. So maybe if you will take just the information for your customer, for your patient, and start maybe to write information for her. Just focus on this, that you got already this information, okay? The channel was open, you got the information, that's it, finito. And you don't go into this emotionally. Just don't connect emotionally into this. I know it's not easy, of course. That's why I don't see anything because I would freak out. Just I feel, yeah, I don't see anything.
You might be able to ask the guides that you trust, what is this supposed to show me? What am I supposed to do with information?
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe they could even help you too to set an intention so that, maybe the clients that you get are a little less dramatic, like maybe a little on the lighter side of trauma to kind of get you into it and then hit you with the full-blown stuff, like the pins in the eye. But
Yeah,
it
like
seems
maybe
like-
tell your guides to tone it down a couple notches.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like you ease into it.
And also,
I
you
mean-
could perceive it as possibly, I'm just saying possibly, a lot of the stuff that you've experienced during the training and stuff really happened to you in other lives, right? So it's easy to think, oh, that's true about everybody, but it could just be that there's some things that she's blocking herself from seeing. Like she could be the person, the perpetrator and the victim. She could be both, preventing herself from seeing something, and you're picking up on that.
Symbolical.
It could be like that. So just consider the possibility. So, and it just kind of relaxes you around it whenever you kind of just say, I'm just curious about this and I just want to learn. But I want to learn, like they were saying, like in ways that are not so dramatic. And so you kind of keep setting that intention. And because it's easy to probably get into that space of being more dramatic because, that's kind of like, that gives you the, creeps, when you think of that something going into somebody's eye like that. But so, you could talk to her about it from that place of curiosity. Is there anything, so when you're talking in the interview, like, there's some things you really don't want to let yourself see. What are they? What could they be? Just opening that up so that, it could be both actually even. So I don't know if that's helpful, but
Bye bye, everybody. Sorry. Oh,
And your house is beautiful.
hang on. Am I on mute? Yeah.
No, you're good.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Sorry, I have to go. I've got an appointment.
That's
Love
all
you,
right.
Rebecca. Have a good day.
We'll set up another one.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for making it friendly for Australia time as well.
Oh, no worries.
Bye bye, everybody.
I'm switching to my phone. I'll see y'all in a minute.
Okay.
I had a session today.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. How'd it go?
It was really good. So I drove to her house. It's someone I know. It was a barter. She had did something for me, and it was really good. She went into 3 past lives, and then I took her to the womb, and then I was like, crap, I meant to take her to the womb first because that's what Antonio does. And then she told me later, right before I took her to the womb, she started having flashes of another lifetime. Like she had a bunch of information. But I still took her to the womb. So I said, well, we can do that one again. But it was pretty good. It was, some of them, the lives were intense. Her parents were, in this life, were narcissists. So she suffered like a lot of mental abuse. So I just, knowing that, I was like, I should probably take her in the womb. But doesn't Antonio take everyone into the womb?
I don't know, and that's another thing I'm not clear on. I think is like,
No,
yeah, I feel like taking somebody. I don't feel like I'm clear on exactly when certain techniques are used and which techniques tend to be commingled a lot.
the
If that makes
community,
any sense.
the people who are taken to the room usually have.
I think we cannot hear you clear.
Yeah, get your speaker closer to your mouth.
Put that fry down.
Okay, so the
There you
people
go.
who I've noticed that goes to the womb are the people who particularly have issues with their parents, and they possibly took on some of the emotions of their parents that may have been before they were even born. Like some of their parents' fears, some of their parents' insecurities. That's the one thing I've noticed. Is usually when there's issues with the parents
And there
that
might
they go
be,
back to the womb.
and there might be things in their childhood that don't indicate why they're having the kinds of symptoms they're having. So he wants to take them back to
Mhm.
a fraught
Well,
environment.
Would knowing if knowing that someone's parents were both narcissists and like very abusive, would you guys take them to the womb first?
Oh yeah, definitely for the
Not
mother.
necessarily
Yeah.
birth, but at least somewhere along the line.
Yeah, I got into the sad memory and I was like, shoot, I wanted to take her to the womb. So I said, I'll just do it at the end. So at least we do it. But maybe it would be
It's so
better to.
The iPhone 365.
I think that's not Elizabeth. Is that Elizabeth? She said she was going to call back on her phone.
Elizabeth's on a different block I can see, and someone else is on a phone. Who's I?
Who's
365.
on the iPhone, guys? Can you unmute and say hello?
I don't know.
Maybe it's Mabel.
Mystery guest.
No,
No,
Mabel
Mabel's right
has her
there.
own block. Elizabeth has her
Yeah.
own block.
Maybe Elizabeth didn't hang up the computer.
No, she's, Elizabeth's still there.
Oh, it's here. Lisa, it's here. Yeah, Lisa is here. Hi.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question for Liz. Did you take?
Sorry, my settings isn't working on my iPhone. I said at the beginning I have to transfer to myself at some point. But it's me.
No,
I'm
is that
365.
Oh, Nikki.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I'm 365. Sorry, I've got an appointment. I had to
It's Nikki.
switch to myself.
Okay. All right, thank you,
For
Nikki.
some reason, my camera's not working on it. But yeah, I'll always come up as 365 on my phone.
Okay, thank you, awesome. All right.
Yeah. So Liz, did you take the customer right away to the past life, or it was your decision after interview?
So no, I just let her go to a sad memory. I actually thought she would go to this life, and she went into a lifetime as she was like in Asian, like China or Japan or somewhere, and she was a girl, so her parents didn't want her, and they told her that, and they sold her to people, and then she lived in like a brothel, or I don't know what you would really call it. Ran away, and then she died cold and alone. So it was, I mean, she cried a lot. So I did all the MDM, I call, the MDM, most difficult moment, the PEM, and then the how's this affecting you, what's it making you do, what's it preventing you from doing. So then I did that same thing for the next 2 lives as well.
Yeah, because I guess I'm kind of confused about. So I'm glad that they went back to the past life, even with you asking for a sad memory. But is there a point at which we ever take them to a past life if they don't go on their own?
I guess if you ask for the origin, because we went through that life,
Okay.
then we looked for another sad memory. So she went through another one as a farmer. And then I looked back at my sheet and I said, well, one of the things she said that she wants to clear and deal with is feeling guilt and shame. So I said, you're going back to the origin of when you first felt the guilt and the shame. And then she was a soldier and she had to kill people. And then she killed a woman and their kids. And she felt so much guilt and shame for that because she kind of not lost her mind, but after killing people, not wanting to, ran off.
Yeah.
So I think when you take someone to the origin, like in Brian Weiss's book, Many Lives, Many Masters, it's been a while since I've read that, but I remember he had asthma. And he said, like, go back to the origin of when the asthma started. And that's when she went back to that life, I believe, in like Egypt, and there was a flood.
Well, because like I tried, this is what annoyed me. Like when we put Mihi under, she was talking about, we didn't have a lot of time to do a session, so she was talking about her hands had bothered her, in the morning, and she really wanted to know why her hands were acting like this. So I was like, fine, let's just do an origin then. Like, why go to the sad memory or whatever? Let's just go right to the origin. So I started doing that, and Alba comes over and starts yelling at me. And she's like, no, that you don't do that until the end. I'm like, the end of what? What if I have a client who just wants to know why something is happening or where, it originated? Why can't I just take them back to the origin from the beginning?
Right. What did she say?
Nothing. She just yelled at me and was like, no, that's for later. You don't do that now. You just, do the induction and go to a sad memory. And I'm like, okay, fine. So.
You know what, on that 5 steps, I think it is what? Interview, induction, memory, origin?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I wasn't sure, like, if the origin, like, if you can do the origin and the scan and the things like that. It seems like you can do them at any point.
Well, wouldn't getting to the origin of it bring out the emotion that they've been feeling?
That's what I would think.
Right?
But I don't know.
That's interesting.
I think
And
it
her
connects
hands weren't.
it.
Oh, sorry, what'd you say?
I think it connects it because, like, when you say, "What is that making you do in your life now?" It's like, oh. So I think but why does it matter if you go to the origin first and then go to how it's affecting them now?
Right.
Right? Like, why does
Because
matter?
I get because people are going to come in and be like, I've got this overwhelming depression, or, I've got this overwhelming feeling of sadness, and I have no idea where it's coming from, whatever. Okay, sure, I could say go back to a sad memory. Doesn't mean they're going to go back to what's causing the sadness now necessarily. I'm sure they would, but you don't know that. And so I didn't see a reason with being like, hey, so let's go back to the origin of when you started feeling this sadness that you feel, the reason you came here today, etc. And was like, why wouldn't that work? But I don't know.
Clearing it in the current life frees you up to go after the past life or something? I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I usually say,
don't know.
in QHHC sessions, I've usually said, what's the origin of this in this life or any other life? What's the very first time her soul experienced this?
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess that's a good question for Antonio.
And then,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean,
go back further.
I joined the that mentoring thing, but I didn't sign on yet. I haven't looked at it yet.
I talked to a couple of people that do introspective hypnosis that went to Peru, and they're on the mentoring thing, and they said the next meeting is the 31st of this month.
Yeah, I'm on.
Oh, okay, right.
What time is it? Do you know what time it is?
6:53.
No, I mean the time of the his mentoring.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I think it was in the morning.
In the morning.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's at 11 a.m.
Okay.
Well, I figured I knew there were things that I was like, shoot, I should have did it in this order, so I kind of went back. And that's why, it's good for us to practice. And she understood that, so.
I did ask him a question on that form, about smoking. I asked him, did he use the same? And I was like, you don't call it a script. But, I really didn't want to go through the whole tobacco thing with my friend because she's not like that. And so I asked him and he said, well, when you take them to the first time that they ever smoked, that's where you find out how to trigger that, you know what I mean? So, so you can ask him questions on that form because it says right there, what do you think or what's in your mind?
Okay. So maybe I'll ask him that then, if you can go right to the origin of something.
Yeah,
What are you folks doing with sessions to kind of organize the whole sequence of things as much as you can before? I know once you get in there, kind of all bets are off, but how are you helping yourselves feel comfortable to get into the session?
I'm following the cheat sheet.
Yeah, just diving in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dive in.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Practice.
I mean, I just basically tried to write down as much as I could, like even though like a lot of the verbiage and stuff is redundant with the different scripts, I still wrote it all out so that I could get the flow going, and then obviously it got the cheat sheet. So if I can look right at that and just be like, oh, yep, this is where I was supposed to go. I don't have to figure out, oh, I got to go from this script to now I got to go over to ask about a sad memory, and then I got to go ask about this. It's like, I just wrote everything out.
Yeah, that's so helpful.
Yeah,
I
the
couldn't
more I
do it
write,
without
the
it.
more I remember it.
Yeah, we really
That's what I
appreciate
have.
that.
That's what I do.
No worries. I should see if Antonio wants it. Be like, hey.
Tell it to him. Hey, man.
Yeah. Show it to
Have a
'em.
cheat sheet for your classes.
Yeah.
I get to come next year for free. There you go.
I did with Jessica, the session that I had with Jessica like 2 days ago. She did a pretty detailed interview with me, and then she asked then just before at the end, I think so, this interview, she asked the question, I don't remember what else, what else, what I meant. So I mentioned something about the blockage, the money blockage that I have. I'm still working on it. And then we started the session, and it took me to one of my past lives. And it was, I think, pretty smooth, but it was I got very important answer. Like, the whole picture of the situation. So yeah, it was, and on the steps when you're doing, it seems again the same feeling. I have again the same feeling from the hypnosis that it doesn't make sense, but at the end, after all this, oh my God, this was so insane. So yeah.
So when Jessica did a session on me, I had an attachment.
Okay.
That's pretty wild. Hold your hand up. Who's had an attachment, like where you felt it? Isn't that pretty wild? Did I start talking different too? Because I started feeling like this.
Whole demeanor changed.
And it just kind of
Everything.
came up, and it almost takes you over. It's so wild. And I'm walking, and then she's like, "What's happening now?" And I'm like, "What did I say? My head's spinning." I didn't know what was going on, but I just felt so dizzy. And she even said later she figured that I had died. I kind of died by surprise, but that is a wild feeling.
Huh.
An attachment, yeah.
And when you did me, and I had the attachment,
Oh
that
yeah.
was so weird. That was just.
Can I tell them what you did?
Tell them. Go ahead. I don't remember. I mean, I remember.
What was his name? Trek?
No, it was like Turk. It was like a long click. Turk. he was like a tribal person.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
could
but
hear
the
the
demeanor
click,
does.
and I'm like, he's yelling at me. He's like, if you're not saying it right, and I'm like, I don't know how to say it. Like, my voice doesn't do that.
How were you prompted?
Question. It was an attachment or it was the walk in, like, passing by or attachments?
I don't really know anything about walk-ins. I think it was an attachment because we were, well, what were we doing, Liz? We were clearing something from my stomach, right?
Yeah, there was something in your stomach.
Yeah.
So I think I should let me talk to it. Like, make it bigger. I'm gonna talk to it. 3, 2, 1, and I snap. I like to snap because
I
it's like
bought a
puts in there.
clicker. I bought a dog clicker.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I like it because I don't make a noise.
It does nothing. So I'm like, clicker.
You can
dog
clap
clicker.
too. I think I've heard Alba
Yeah.
clap
I'll clap.
before.
Yep. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry. You clicked.
Joanne, you were saying something.
No, I just wanted to know what prompted you to know that it was an attachment.
She just said something about her stomach. I think it was hurting.
It was like gurgling. Oh, when I was going to the light in that lifetime, I felt this gurgling, and I was like, "No, I'm going to the light. Leave me alone." And then I told you, I think,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you said it was an attachment, or you said it was gurgling in my
No,
stomach?
I said my stomach keeps like gurgling.
Mhm.
Yeah, I said my stomach keeps gurgling.
Do you
Well, how
remember
did
when you did the session on me, how we found the attachment? Because his name was Benjamin.
Yeah, because there was something in your stomach too, and I was like, okay, pull it out, and you were like, and like you started to be a little weird, like you were holding your mouth weird, and I was like, here we go. And then I was like, okay, well, let's just like let this energy come up and talk. And then it was like you were holding your head, like, I don't know. And yeah.
I have the recording. I should go back and look at
Oh,
it.
yeah.
There's one of your first episodes.
Yeah.
Right?
There you
Well,
go.
I had an attachment, but I didn't get, and I guess it was the same thing, but I went to Pennhurst, which is an insane asylum here, and I went on a ghost hunt, and something was following me around the whole night, growling at me, and I had it all on audio. And then it ran its hand down my back.
Ugh.
And and I thought it was my husband, and I turned around and I was like, yeah, now's not the time. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you just ran your hand down my back. He's like, no, I didn't. My friend's across from us looking at him. She goes, didn't come anywhere near you. And I was like, did you just touch me? And it growled at me again. And I was like, oh, okay. But it was about a year later that I was having a Reiki session done by a friend of mine who's a medium, and she ran her hands over my stomach, and I felt it move. It felt like there was a baby in my stomach. And I was like, okay, what the hell was that? And she goes, oh, he doesn't like me. And I go, he who? And she's like, you have an attachment. So yeah, I actually felt it move. I mean, freaked me out. So yeah.
Okay, so who's read Antonio's book Guiding Lost Souls? Anybody? He mentions like don't go to places like that where people have died.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
I mean, even hospitals. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard. A lot of nurses, right? But people that die, are in especially insane asylums, cemeteries, anywhere, abundance of lost souls could be.
Great, I've just started working in the hospital.
I'm sorry, Mabel. You got to do your shield every day, I guess. You're walking
It's
by.
okay, but if we will recognize the lost soul, so let's say we are helping them, right? To go to the light, to go back to the light. So if we, meet someone, it's a blessing for us that they found us and we can help. That's why we are here, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, how many attachments can you have? And like, then, I mean, it's just kind of like.
You ask about lost souls. It's
Well, how
different,
Alpha talks about it's kind of like getting ticks.
or no?
Getting a tick on you. That's how she explained it.
Which I had a tick on me when we were there.
And I think Alba's a
No.
tick. But anyway,
That was a lost tick soul.
I was so upset because I was like, hello, you put me in trance a million times. You're talking about ticks. I go in the forest, I get a tick.
Oh my gosh.
I blame them for that. I do.
I-
I love
I
them,
think-
but I blame them.
I think Jessica is Gaia in like personified.
Aw.
She's like Mother Earth. She's just like skin everything in.
Control your ticks, Jessica.
Yeah, right.
Keep them in order.
You the story about the bed bugs?
Oh,
Okay. Okay. My friend from Chicago, she's a kind of the clairvoyant, and she can manage the energy. So she was moving from Los Angeles to Chicago, back to Chicago, where her sister was lived there, and she was supposed to move in with her sister and her family, and yes, and her family. So the time was passing by, and the moment that she's supposed to move in was closer and closer. But her sister, she didn't call her like usually. She didn't talk with her, and she felt that there is something wrong. And then it was like 3 weeks to move in. And she called to her sister to Chicago and say, "Oh, let's say, I don't know, Annabelle, tell me what is going on. Why there is something you ask that you don't tell me?" And she said, "Yeah, I know you will find out." And she said, "Okay, tell me." Okay, so I didn't want to tell you, but we have a bed box in our
Yeah.
house, and I don't know how to live with them. And she said, "Oh my God, why you didn't tell me?" Okay, and she said, she was in Los Angeles, and she said, "Okay, I will take care of this." So she finished the phone conversation, and she was like connecting with the place, and she made like order for them to leave the house. Like she said, "You have no right to be there right now. Just make a I don't know, make a line and get out of this house." And he was so sure about what she was saying and what she was doing. Yes, and then her sister called her like, I don't know, in about I don't remember, but the same day, 3-4 hours, and she said, "Oh my God, Tatiana is her name. Tatiana, you have no idea what is going on. Oh my God!" And she said, "Well, I will show you." So she showed her on the floor like a bunch of, it looked like a dust, like a bunch of these bed bugs moving from the house. Yes, so we have so much power that we still didn't recognize. So you, Jessica, or whoever, we can make orders. If you know about this, you can have orders. For example, when you go to the forest or outside and you don't want the insects to bother you, just make an order. You have no right to touch me. Bingo. That's it. I'm untouchable. Yeah, okay.
very good.
I'm giving it a shot because I'm not a big fan of DE. So
Exactly. Wendy, you were
Give it a
saying
shot.
how many attachments can someone have? Weren't you asking that?
Yeah.
right.
Okay, so I talked with one of the people from Peru that I was talking with her on WhatsApp yesterday, and she said, because she was saying, "Oh, you can do a practice session on me. I've got plenty of issues." And she said, "I just had 15 attachments removed from me in a session."
Oh my God.
So
Wow.
she's had a lot of stuff go on in her life. But
So are we able then, Betty, are you saying with attachments, can we do that with like you did with the bed bugs? Can we do that with attachments? Saying,
well, again, the whole attachment thing, it's supposed to be, if the wrong book is worth reading just for that, because it's basically, it is a lost soul who's looking for the light. So the way Antonio treats them is, he calls them brother or sister.
Yep.
I'm here to help you. It's all a very loving kind of thing rather than get out of
Get off. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So for that, With the insect.
You know, I got an answer that if you have an attachment, it's not only the one-way trip. It's always the two-way trip. So it's because of you and because of this attachment. So it was some situation or some thinking in your life that it happened that this attachment got to you. So I don't want to say kind of like it's not your fault, but the reason was in you that this attachment got into you. So it should supposed to be your lesson.
Right, and that, Liz, I think, were you asking about, you had the thing about what is this vulnerability in the threads? Yeah, that it's like how were you vulnerable that this attachment was able to attach to you? That's one of the
Oh,
questions.
that's a good question.
Yeah.
There's something like that in my notes, and I don't know. I think I remembered it because I remembered it off the top of my head because I didn't know what he meant it for. You know, it took me a minute to figure it out when he first said it, so I wrote it down. But that makes sense. Like you want to know how did you manage to attach to this person? They were weakened at the time in some way.
What it
Yeah.
you, to
Yeah.
yes, like, anybody, like, so that's what they ask a lot, in the books, because I'm on his last book. I've read all three, and I'm on the Woo one, I guess.
Can you,
So there's a
can
lot
you
of
write me a quick summary of each of them? That would be great. Because I
they're
don't
really
really get a
easy
lot of
reads.
time to
Yeah.
read.
They're really
So,
easy reads.
The only other thing I do want to bring up, because Joanna, great topic actually for the podcast too. So again, if you guys have any topics that you want to discuss and you want to come on, totally let us know too, and we'll do that. But that would be another good one to do, is to let people know, again, like you said, what vulnerabilities make you susceptible to attachments. We know drug use and alcoholism and events, things like that. Yeah, they all make you vulnerable. So that's a good episode to do too.
And I think just the whole position of this is a lost soul, not because people when they talk about attachments, it's all fear based.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's true.
Right.
Yes.
So this is
So it's totally different saying a lost soul or an attachment. A lost soul makes you have more sympathy and compassion for him.
right.
If you say attachment, that's like something evil, like a tick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want to help somebody, like you just want to help, but we have to be like secured before we want to help, because the person got this lesson for some reason, and now we want to take off of this person, but we didn't put we didn't put the right unit, right suit for us to secure us before this attachment, that it will not jump to us. Like,
But
yeah,
you
we
mean
have to.
when you're in a session?
Yeah, for example, in session, yeah.
But the thing is, if you're just realizing this is the lost soul becomes the client, then becomes
Yes.
another client in that
Right.
session. So if you're not afraid of this, and you're saying, okay, here's another soul that needs to go to the light, and can I convince this person I'm there to help them, show them how it's to their advantage, show them how they're harming the person they're attached to. They may have done it without realizing that they didn't know they were dead, that kind of thing. And so it's not even that much about having to protect yourself in those cases. It's just to come at it with love and show them where it's beneficial for them to move forward. To move to the light is.
Yeah, but you're talking. Is this because I recognize that there is a difference between the lost soul and attachment.
Yes.
That's not how he's differentiating it.
That's not what my understanding is at all.
Lost
My
soul
understanding is,
if you're shiny enough and you're lower vibration enough to that lost soul, he can attach to you.
Well,
and they're all
Like your lifestyle, I guess. Is what
In my instance, I had an attachment that created fear of doing things because when I was a child, my parents were divorced, but when I got sick, they came together. that came together, but then they would say, oh, well, she can't do that because she's got asthma. So this attachment was there to protect me from things that I didn't want to do. It wasn't a lost soul. I mean, it could have been, but from the QHH practitioner that did my session, released it saying she's an adult now and she doesn't need that anymore. And it was actually ended up being like the kid's dragon, you know, the green dinosaur.
Oh,
And
Pete's dragon?
Well, it was like a dinosaur that dumb.
Gotcha.
And when I said, you know, leave me, she said, do you want to leave? And he said, yeah, I guess so. And I saw him walking away. And so that's why I felt that that was an attachment and not a lost soul. But it could have been a lost soul, but we didn't send it to the light. I mean, maybe that's why I still have it.
Well, and
It's either that or it's, yeah, sorry.
well, you just said something about QHHT practitioner handling that way. In QHHT, their belief is that there's no such thing as an attachment, that it's a fear that needs to be released.
Oh, yeah. So I would say more attachment as a fear. That's in my understanding, that the lost soul. Yeah.
I have it right here in this book. It
Okay.
says, symptoms caused by parasitic spirits. As offensive as the term parasite may seem, in part, it defines very well their way of acting. These lost souls not only cause ills in the affected person, but also live off their energy, causing them chronic exhaustion. So it's all lost souls. It's not evil attachments. And he was clear about that when he said, I hope you know there's no Satan or evil spirits, that they're all lost souls.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking about this. I was thinking like the lost soul. It's the like more connected with the person who lived on the earth, but the body died, and the soul didn't leave this space.
Right.
Just didn't go to the light, and this is lost soul. But the attachment, it's some piece, like a fragment of the soul, or some the part only.
That's a little bit different. That's when you leave a piece of your, you're in a traumatic event, and you're leaving basically a piece of your soul there because, for example, a rape, a child, one of the
fragmentation.
Yeah, the fragments of the soul are running away and hiding from what's happening.
Okay.
And they end up, kind of deal with soul fragments, gather them back.
Right. Okay.
That's your own soul.
Attachments can be like, for example, like kind of the bad ghost that they want you make like not bad things, like funny things, yeah. That it's not, I don't know.
Like a poltergeist?
I have feelings like, the attachment is something small, something like touched to you, but the lost soul, it's like passing by you, like can find you for a moment, but not staying with you. Attachment, I feel like can stay with you for a very long time, like for years.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of transient souls.
Here's the thing, you can get an attachment by someone just going by. But they're all lost souls.
Yes.
You just might happen to be in, the hospital or something, and this person just died or something, and they were under anesthesia or they were unconscious or something like that. Which happens a lot. Because anybody who goes through hospice, most often at end of life is given morphine and relaxer. So almost everybody that goes through a hospice is unconscious when they die. So there's a lot of them out there. Although at least they're usually aware that they're about to die.
Yeah. Guys, I gotta go. It was nice seeing everyone. Love you all.
Yeah.
Nice to see
Text
you.
me anytime. Bye.
Bye.
Oy.
Hey guys, I don't know if you can hear me. I've been trying to set up the Zoom and it's just not working. I think one thing I wanted to contribute to the conversation, two things actually. I did ask Antonio about why we can't just go to the origin, and he said because we need to warm up the client, and that comes from sad memories.
Okay.
He said it. And then
Okay.
I think one of the things that I have with this work, and I feel it's relevant to the asthma, is how does all this fit in with other like schools of psychology, like internal family systems, for example, or parts work? Because in sharing of that story, you know, you could say that that's a certain part that comes out. It's part of the internal family system. So it's like they have different terminology, but it's like it's not an inner child. I'm just going to say an inner child. So it's a part that comes out energetically. That's actually part of us that is from trauma as a child, and we adopt certain patterns. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a lost soul or an entity, I think, for it still to be an energy that can kind of override, you know, our consciousness. It's still part of our subconscious. I don't know if any of you guys know about IFS, internal family systems, or parts work. That's what we call it. And please just bear with me. I don't know if the Zoom will not get to my camera. So I'm sorry I'm black. But yeah, I don't know how this work fits in with, I think this work basically makes, in combination with psychology, is so life-changing. So I just don't know how it works also with psychology. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I still believe a lot, and I feel like it fits in with this is, that our brain fractures. I mean, that's the way I've always thought about it is you have traumas, especially as a child, your brain fractures and you compartmentalize what happened, and you basically, your brain puts it in a little box, shoves it in the back and keeps it away from you until eventually it starts coming out again because, the box starts breaking down. So I feel like that's what this soul fragmentation is. It's just these pieces of us that get taken away from these traumas and tucked off somewhere else so that we don't deal with it. But again, then we start to feel that loss and we start to suffer the symptoms from that. So it slowly creeps back. So I feel like, I feel like this would work well along with with the psychology or a psychologist. You got our process where we kind of take them through it, and then you have a psychologist who could be like, okay, now let me help you process this. Because that's what almost kind of bothers me a little bit about this is that I feel like there's no follow-up. Like, I feel like if I were to, the experience we had with Nikki, when Antonio did hers, like, afterwards, it's like, I wanted to, and even with Jessica, it's like, you want to like comfort them, or you want to like be like, okay, go spend some time by yourself, or use somebody that needs to talk about it, like to get it kind of out, whatever. But I feel like we just kind of do a session and then we're kind of gone. And I worry a little bit about that.
Well, one thing that I was surprised he didn't bring up in that particular class, because he brought it up in Peru, and I was conscious of it, so I was hesitant to do this. He said when someone is finished with their session, don't touch them. Let them do what they need to do. Like, if they need to touch somebody, they'll come to you or whatever, but,
Gotcha.
basically don't do that. And like I said, I meant to ask him about that, and I was surprised that he didn't say that at the time because of the state that they're in.
Yeah.
I agree. I actually felt that was lacking, and I was actually going to suggest in class. Rebecca said something after my session. I don't remember a lot of my session, but she said something like self-care tips or something to Nikki, and I can't remember what his answer was, but I remember I shared it with a few people. That night was really hard for me, and I basically stayed up on YouTube to kind of just numb out for hours and hours. It felt like because the feelings were so overwhelming. And then I think I suggested in one of the sessions I did with people that as we were counting them back out, like we put specific self-care tips in there that they had shared, something to do with, like for me, it's like food and TV, for example. So there would be a self-care tip as I'm being counted out of, like, I have a healthy relationship with food, or, I'm going to take time to sleep or meditate versus, you know, numbing out with TV. I don't know why there isn't those self-care tips, because basically we feel flayed, you know, everything's open and it's coming out, and it was also a first experience for me, but I do feel like the self-care is lacking.
Mm-hmm. And then I got yelled at. Alba yelled at me. I forget who it was. I don't remember. Maybe it was Jessica. I'm not sure. But I said, oh, I feel so bad that you had to go through that. Like, and she was like, be quiet. You don't say that. You're making her a victim. And I'm just kind of like, was it? Yeah. And I'm like, I said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that she got hung and all. I meant, I felt badly that you're being so affected every day by what we were doing. And I realized how overwhelming that must be for you. And that's where I was, you know, kind of going. And she just jumped all over me. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, you can't tell me not to be compassionate. I'm sorry, but I just am. So,
I see both sides of it, though.
yeah.
I mean, I see both sides because when you really take a look at the state of the world when it comes to emotional intelligence, it's kind of like there's this strong sense of cognitive dissonance where people say that they're for mental health and healing and growth, but are so emotionally unavailable and so far stuck in victimhood that's crippled them from actually healing. So it's like if you get into the habit of, I guess, coddling, that'll kind of already validate what society is letting them know. Like, hey, you are a victim. Hey, it is somebody else's fault. You don't have to heal. It's the person's fault. You don't got to do nothing but just exist. And it's like, if the whole world is already doing it, you got to be the one person who they already trust to open them up, to give them back their power, and not just validate them being a victim, but validate them being a strong person, validate their healing, validate them, okay, yes, this happened, but you still have a lot of life to live. You have a purpose, and you can't fulfill that if you are falling into the social engineering of society.
Right. Right. So things more like, you know, you did great. You're so strong. You're brave. Things like that instead of, I'm sorry that this happened to you, or I'm sorry you went through this.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
some,
would
you know,
think
something on the
even
more,
just saying, how are you feeling?
Mm-hmm.
right.
You know, or what do you need
Yeah.
to do for yourself now, or something like that.
Right.
Put it back on them.
Or just say like,
Yeah.
hey, you just did a lot of work, you know, great work, you know, this time.
Yeah.
So reflect, you know, then that's their time to reflect on that. Oh, what kind of work did I just do, you know? So.
Yeah, after I did
Yep.
the first one, see, I understand why we don't go to past lives, right? Why we're like hitting the sad memories, the trauma, I get that. And I think it's so very important. But I think that going to that past life, like I'm so grateful for that, because that whole week I kept thinking back at that. Even though it was a really sad life and I died in a really horrible way, it was cool. And it was like, whoa, I'm something cool, you know, like that kind of like, you know what I mean? And then I kept thinking about that. And even the other past lives that I saw were very, you know, miserable and, you know, terrible. But at the same time, it was cool, you know? So it's kind of like this motivation to heal, or it kind of like, instead of thinking about, for me, it was more like other people's pain, like holding on to other people's pain. It was, instead, I was thinking about how cool these past lives were. So I kind of feel like when people have a session and they only have all these sad memories from this lifetime, they don't have anything cool to think about. So I feel like I want to ask Antonio in the thing, like what he would think about if you do 2 sad memories and then the last one is a past life. So they have something, I don't know, I feel like it really helped me a lot, the fact that I had some past lives. Even though they were so sad, it was so cool. And I feel like spirit kind of lures people to Alba, to him, with you're going to see a past life. If you tell all these people, we're going to go through all the traumatic events in your life, it's going to be terrible, and you're going to feel like shit for a month, maybe 2, they're not going to come. They're just not.
Right.
They come because of the past life, and then we kind of it's like Shakespeare was like giving us poetry, but he wrapped it in drama because people want to see bloodshed. They want to see, this sorrow, but they got poetry, So you
Right.
gotta kind of, I don't know.
I mean, I don't see why you can't mix modalities, quite frankly. I mean, I kind of really intend on just seeing where the number one, what does the client want to work on? And you still may get clients that are like, I really don't feel like I have anything going on, or whatever. And so I'm here just to explore, see if I see some past lives, whatever. Take them to past lives. I mean,
What,
I don't think he's not adverse to us using it or doing this for other reasons than just to heal trauma. I mean, he
when you
is
go
a
to the
QHHT practitioner.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it anymore, but he
go
is.
to the past lives. Well, one thing I found out in that class, I was really surprised because QHHT these days doesn't do the same things that they were doing when he and Alba learned how to do it. So he was saying QHHT doesn't take you to the other side of your life, and that's what I was going to say about the spirit. When you go through a past life and then you go to the other side of it, I always have the soul go to the light, and I let them experience that feeling, and it's amazing, and they feel so welcomed, and they realize there's no judging, and they, it gave, like, the one guy in particular I can remember having, it was like it changed his whole. He said this changed how I look at death, because he was raised to be Catholic and very, very judgmental. He was like Catholic school all through college, all the way up through, and it was like, oh, life had to be this way. And then when he experienced that side, I take everybody to that side in a QHHT session, because it's the easiest way to get to talk to the subconscious. And they always have some sort of kind of ecstatic experience, or I should say almost always, but have some kind of ecstatic experience. And I just say to them, okay, so just absorb that, sit there with it, and let this sink into every cell and consciousness of your being. Enjoy it, and remember this, so that you can come back to it any time you want. And people do, they use that. They're just like, oh, this is wonderful. And then we go on to doing the more healing stuff, the
Right.
healing part from QHHT. But I don't see why we couldn't do that in this.
Yeah, that's a good point, because every time it's like Alba took me out right away. He took me out right, and I was like, no, I want to stay here.
Also, those are demos,
Yeah, I am.
I get that we can't be calling every client, and in the interview we can't be showing too much compassion, and we can't make about emotions. I get all that, but what I don't get is there's a reason why these things are being pushed down, and they're being pushed down because there were two people to put in the moment, and if these sessions are bringing up a number of really painful stuff, I just feel like there could be a way where there is, I don't know, the compassion could be shown at the end or something, just because, my bottom line is there's a reason why it was being protected, this information. So, and I feel also that it's a perfect time to reinforce, skills of soothing and care, so that these memories will be, they're basically, this whole thing is about reframing our memories, right? So that they end up empowering us. And I think that that's great. But I just feel like there could be like an extra step where the person is kind of just empowered also in future triggers around those memories.
Yeah. And I think, well, part of that too, when you work with the, when you're taking something away and replacing it with something, and then you're projecting into the future, anytime you think about this event, you'll remember this beautiful light or whatever that you put to it. But also, just if you're, in post session and you're going over, what do they remember? What did they experience? What was it like for them? That kind of thing. That's where then usually reinforcing, okay, now for the next several days or even longer, you might be experiencing some of these things.
Right.
Just be sure to get enough sleep, to, take a little bit of extra care of yourself, whatever that feels like for you, those kinds of things. And I think that's a way to be compassionate without coddling anyone.
Right.
You're not helping them, You're not encouraging them to continue to be a victim.
Right. Yeah, no,
I
that's
like-
a good point.
Because even after Reiki, they give you aftercare instructions.
Yeah,
Drink some water, get some
True.
rest.
Some breath, think good dreams.
Yep,
right.
that's the other thing too. Yeah.
I know I've had a lot of weird dreams. I had a dream. Okay, I had a dream. That this white dog came to me and said that he was my oracle.
Who's your oracle?
Yeah,
Oh wow.
Wow.
What wisdom did he impart?
I don't know. I don't remember the rest of the dream. I don't know how long I was asleep afterwards, but I just woke up like, what the hell is a white dog? And what again about oracle? This is not charm.
Oh, I don't. Oh yeah, I put it in the thread. Never mind. Never mind.
You're crazy.
That happened after.
Well,
Well,
that's
lots
all
of
good
progress.
stuff. Does anybody have any sessions coming up?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, who's gonna allow me to practice on them?
You can practice.
I will.
If anybody wants to do any trades, I think probably not this week, but next week I have a pretty open schedule, or flexible schedule.
Maybe you can work on me.
I would.
Okay, we'll talk, I guess, outside of the meeting.
Anybody that wants, I'm game.
Cool.
I need
I'm still trying to organize all my stuff from my notes because my handwriting is basically illegible and
Yeah.
yeah, I took a picture of one of your pages
oh god.
and I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to look at this one thing at a time.
Yeah, this isn't helping me because I can barely read my own writing, so I didn't
That's
even
why I
want to
had
write in my manual and I'm scribbled all over it, so that's why
I used a pencil.
Yeah, that's why I had to go back every night and type out my notes because if I wait till the next day, I won't remember what any of it says.
Yes.
I
Well,
have never had a really full, complete session. So yeah, Joanna, I would love to.
Okay, well, just let me, text me and we can set up a time. Let me know you're in Oregon, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a 3-hour time difference.
Yeah.
That's good. I used to work with people in California for when I did web design. It was great because I'm not a morning person. So when they were ready to do something at 9 in the morning, it was noontime here. I was ready to go.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm a morning person, so that's perfect.
So you say you have a session coming up?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I'm gonna practice on Brad, my guy, and then May 30th, I think it is. I've got a guy coming, and then I was on a walk and I saw a friend of mine, and I started talking to her, and she would like a session. I need to go over my notes. I got, these plastic things, and I'm putting together my notebook better, and I love these, by the way, Christy. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for doing
thank you.
so much work.
You're welcome.
Christine.
So helpful to me. So
No
yeah,
worries.
thank you. I found out I'm going to be a great grandma.
Oh, congrats.
I know, on Mother's Day. And
wow.
so, I haven't been home as long as y'all, but it's taken me a minute to kind of reacclimate and